as I said to you just before, we have known each other for 30 minutes, and I feel like almost like an old buddy.
It feels very familiar, strangely enough. You know, I think we're kindred spirits.
Yeah, or do you believe in reincarnation?
Oh, absolutely. What were we in a past life, bud?
One of the past lives that you have been part of is, of course, the industry for many years, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we are here with at the EFI Connect. We have to call it EPS Connect as well, right?
Yes.
Right? Which is a little bit strange because that is new, right?
All new for everybody.
What defines you as a human being?
You know, I think, first and foremost, I'm a family man. I love my family. I've got 4 kids, but you know, personally, it's about my family. Professionally, you know, I'm always driven by what's new, what's exciting. You know, I've been involved in the industry for, I guess, 25 years. It's about how do I make things better? You know, how do we change things? It's why I got here.
And when things, I mean, I share that passion about technology. It's like the passion for new technology. I don't know about you, but I remember when I was a bit younger and I came to the US and went into a Best Buy, it was like, okay, I need to go and see if they have some new stuff. Did you try that as well? Or?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I always describe myself as I was that kid that, you know, when I was 8, 9 years old, I got a radio and I turned it on for the first time. I thought, this is great, it plays music. And then the very next thing I did was tear it apart because I needed to know how it worked. It's been me.
So that is maybe something that is the difference between you and me, because I would just listen to the music. I might record the things because that was on tape recorders then back in the time, right? So you share things about, is that something that has also, when you look at your role, professional life, is that also like tearing things apart, figuring out how it works? And
yeah, certainly. I mean, my career's been many and varied. You know, I've done everything from sales to implementation to training to support. Ultimately moved into product management. I was an engineer for a period of time. Actually, at one point, I thought I was going to head down the R&D road and be a software developer. And I'll tell you a quick funny story. I had a friend who's an engineer who told me that I'd always be a pretty mediocre engineer, but I'd be great at product management.
Is it because you're unstable that you have all these different jobs, or?
Yeah, I think it's I'm looking for the next challenge. You know, what's next, and I think why I love product management, why I love products in general, is I can see the vision, and it's always been a challenge to hear what a customer's thinking, what the business problem is, and creative ways to solve that.
Are you a person that likes to come and visit a printing company or a converter just to see all the problems that they probably have?
Oh, absolutely. And that's a big part of what I do. You know, in a given year, I'll probably spend 10, 15 weeks doing site walks with customers and understanding their problems and looking at machinery and understanding their pain points. That helps me build better product.
Would you consider yourself as a known or famous person?
I say in the industry, I'm relatively well known. You know, one of the advantages of living in the US and being Australian is the accent automatically. Oh, absolutely. You know, the accent stands out, but I think I also have a big personality, and it's always been that way.
The reason I was actually curious about that part of being famous, I was wondering, do you think that sometimes when you go and visit a printing company that you are posed to some problems because you are famous and have that legacy and that knowledge or something like that? I mean, you get my point that sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think because people know my history and my experience, I think they will bring up things that they wouldn't with someone else. You know, it's, hey, I know that you've had some ideas in the past. A lot of them are customers that I've known for years, actually through multiple iterations through my path, from Creo to Kodak and now EFI and eProductivity software. So they have a trust, there's a relationship, and even if I don't know them personally, they've seen me on stage or in some presentation somewhere.
And I take that you like that role, don't you?
I do. You know, it's interesting. It's a very different personality, and it's in my home life. I'm quite insular. You know, I enjoy my own company, but I love being on stage. I love talking to customers. I love visiting people. I love traveling. I love hearing about problems. You know, people say, let's go visit a successful customer. honestly, I'd rather go and visit the customer that's got problems, because that's the challenge. How do I help them? How do I make them grow?
It's funny that you mentioned without comparison. I was asked to give a keynote, since I travel a lot as well. So I was asked to give a keynote at some trade show about the temperature of the printing industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, the problem, I'm not qualified for it, because I'm only exposed to the successful companies.
Yes. Yeah, and I of course I go to visit the successful companies, but even when I go to the successful companies, often it's because they're looking at diversifying their business. What's the next challenge? We're moving into a new product line, or we're acquiring a new business, or we're expanding a number of locations, and that brings inherent challenges with it. And so while they might be successful today, how do they make sure they're successful in the future? And that's why I get brought in.
One thing I can't help think about, when I look at EFI, now EPS as well, a lot of companies always talk about that we develop products and solutions according to customer needs.
Yeah, I think there's a certain truth to that. I think the challenge then is that you're following the market rather than leading the market.
That was actually my point, and I was just wondering, because sometimes if you look at as you work with software, are you working with iterations, or you're working with disruptive kind of approach to the next new thing, right?
That's it. And I think, I'll use a great analogy, and I've used this often. If we go back 15 years ago, people had an iPod in one pocket and a phone in the other, and they were very happy with that. And then suddenly we put the two together. Apple came out with the iPhone, and now today, if you saw someone with an iPod and a phone, you'd think, what's wrong with that individual? That seems bizarre.
You even think that sometimes it's strange that you see people with two phones just because they haven't figured out to have dual SIMs or eSIM.
Exactly. And so I think part of the challenge is listening to customers. There's certainly great feedback we can hear from customers, but also predicting where the market's going to go, the challenges that they're going to face. As we develop products, part of that is, definitely feedback from customers, but also looking forward. This industry, while it's one of the oldest industries out there, it's constantly evolving, and we have to be thinking about where it's going to be in 1 year, 3 year, and 5 years from now, and try to get ahead.
Just because it takes time to develop, of course.
Absolutely. There's no magic switch where we can solve the problem in a day, and so we need to be thinking about what will be the challenges for these businesses over the next 12 months, 18 months. And so a lot of when I go to talk to these people, it's, I know you have this problem today. How do you think your business is going to evolve? Where do you see yourself a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? Because that helps me understand some of the challenges they might face.
Can I be provocative for a second?
Of course.
I see the growth in EPS or EFI mainly through the acquisitions you've done.
I think there's a certain combination of organic and inorganic growth, and I think that will continue, quite frankly. I think there'll be organic growth. There are new markets that we're moving into. If we look at mailing, perfect example. Mailing was a nothing market 2 years ago. Today, it's a vibrant, growing market for us. Display graphics, again, 5 years ago, it was a small part of our business.
But the reason I'm asking you, Nick, is when you look at what we just talked about, the history and the curiosity and things like that, it's always like, okay, if we're looking for the next big thing, or if we look for the next thing that should really drive the industry, iterations is maybe not good enough.
Yes.
And buying other companies, they have already done their dirty jobs to get things going, right? From your personal perspective, are you allowed within your frame, and you see your frame as something where you can say, okay, we do something that is only red?
Look, I have a lot of freedom. I will tell you that, all through my time at EFI and now with EPS, there's been a lot of autonomy and trust. And I think that, is certainly clear from the new ownership that that's going to continue. They understand how to run a software business, and that's certainly going to be assistance to us. But they don't know the printing industry. We know the print and packaging industry better than anybody. I've personally been doing it for almost 3 decades. So they're looking for us to come up with great ideas. And for us, it's about broadening the workflow. How can we add more value in more parts of the business? Because if you think about it, we've got to go from, a normal print job goes from the concept, the mind of a designer, to a piece that's delivered. Now that could be something stuck on a wall in a store, it could be a mail piece that's delivered. How do we improve that workflow?
So you're not tired?
Oh no, I'm actually excited about the opportunity. I think there's more challenges ahead. I think there's a great opportunity. I think right now is a great time for EPS.
As we spoke about, I mean, the split comes at a perfect second, perfect moment in time, right? We're just in the middle of a pandemic where I think the importance of software and workflow automation is evident to everybody, right? And you have, as you said yourself, and I spoke to some of your colleagues as well, you are a very, very well-funded and founded startup, right?
Essentially, yeah. You know, we're a startup company with decades of experience and a solid reputation. It's a great place to start.
And revenue and customers.
Absolutely, revenue, customers, great partnerships that will continue to build, and the opportunity to develop that into a much bigger, broader business.
I don't know if you can answer this, and I'm not interested in a specific number, but I was just wondering if you look at the portfolio of software that EPS today deliver, and then you look at all the PSPs around the world and converters, even that you are one of the biggest software suppliers in the printing industry, your market share is still like, not market share, but your market penetration is still like tiny, isn't it?
And it's interesting because of the different sub-segments that we operate in. You move from publication to mid-sized commercial printers to enterprise commercial to tag and label, folding carton. The penetration is very different. And then you break it down to regionally. We've got stronger penetration in some markets than others, and not consistent. So we have stronger penetration in publication, say in Europe, than we do in the US, but in enterprise print, more in the US than in Europe. So it's a huge market opportunity for us, and I think that's one of the things that drives me is how do we make the software that we know is so successful appealing in other geographies and grow there.
What is the key?
Oh, I think it's focus. I think we need to get feet on the ground. We need to get focused. We need to know the market. One of the challenges that any software vendor goes into is, it works in the US. It's going to work in Germany, Finland,
which is not necessarily true.
And it's not necessarily true. You think about simple things. The very basics. In the United States, I send an estimate to a customer. They pick up the phone. They call me and say, run the job. In Germany, I do the same thing. I have to send a formal confirmation. That's just standard business practice. And so as we go to these markets, we have to adapt. In the US, everything is an estimate plus freight. In Europe, you actually estimate the freight. And so there are subtleties that we have to be aware of as we go to those markets. And I want to be smart as we roll into these markets so that we deliver value.
So would you say that your success as being responsible for development of EPS in the future is also your ability to get all that intel from the market and continue visiting printing companies and understanding the cultures of, because you one of the things that I liked before the cameras were turned on, background in Australia, lived in Canada, lived in the US, you have already got the sense of different cultures, right?
I do, and in my 10 years at Creo Kodak, I spent a large portion of my time in Europe. Had a headquarters in Brussels, spent a lot of time in Belgium, and of course, as you know, in Europe, traveling to Germany for the day is easy. And so I had a lot of exposure, and we have some great customers there already, and we're learning more and more as we go through. And I intend to be spending much more time in Europe, getting to know the market.
And we have good food and good wine.
Outstanding.
What is the key to success for you? Of course, one thing is growth. That is always like that. Yeah. And then the second thing is, of course, also that all the integrations and the new UIs and all the things that we spoke about earlier is transparent throughout all your products and things like that. But do Nick have like a personal kind of thing that is my success criteria?
So one of the things I've always found interesting, for me, I take a management role very personally. When I wake up every morning, I am acutely aware that the decisions that we make affect the hundreds of families of the employees that work for us and the thousands of families of the customers that we serve. And so for me, Yeah, growth is of course, that's a measure that any company wants. I want to make sure that we have happy customers, we have happy employees, that they're seeing growth, they're seeing a path to success, they're seeing a path to their growth, their opportunity to grow. That's success for me. You know, my greatest, you know, people keep saying, you know, what is the legacy you want to leave behind? What's your greatest professional success? And it's the people I've mentored, right? That's the success for me.
But taking that you're already, as we spoke about, known, recognized, famous in the industry, probably the legacy is already established, right? To some extent. I mean, you never rest on your laurels. I mean, yeah.
That's it. And you don't rest on your laurels. And I'm always looking for the next generation of people to mentor into the business, the next customer that I can turn into a success.
What about, I mean, even Jeff Jacobson also at his keynote here at DFI Connect spoke about the labor shortage and things like that, and also the fact attracting young people to the industry. I mean, do you see also your role as we need to find the right programmers, the new people that needs to define the EPS of the next generation? I mean, do you spend time on that, or?
I do, and you know, working with the Scholarship Foundation, working with some of the colleges.
But that is EFI, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, so EPS will have the same commitment, or?
Absolutely. You know, we want to help mentor the next generation. I think we need to, you know, to quote an old phrase, we want to bring sexy back to the print industry. You know, this is...
I like that, actually.
You know, we want to bring sexy back. Honestly, the print industry, I think we have to redefine ourselves. We're a communications industry, right? We're about communication. Whether that's in a book, whether it's a sign, whatever that is, it's a mail piece. We're a communications industry. And in many cases, that communication's repurposed. It's a combination of a print product and some sort of product. But we've got to make it exciting for people to get into it. And I think people are starting to understand that print is pretty cool.
I have a few questions more. Actually, one thing I forgot to ask you in the beginning. Do you like print?
I do. I'll tell you a quick funny story. So we first moved to Canada, and everything's bilingual. So we lived in Vancouver, British Columbia, and you go into the store and everything's labeled in French and English. We happened to walk into the store, and for some reason, all of the labels were in French facing out. My wife was picking things up saying, "Oh my God, I don't know what this says." I said, "Well, turn it around, it's in English." And of course, now I'm picking up products and I'm scratching them, I'm sniffing them, and I'm looking at and I'm feeling it. And everyone in the stores.
So even though you started in kind of like the digital workspace, that you have learned to also appreciate the physical part of it, right?
I love the physical because it's the tangible result of the hard work that we put in. All of that comes at the end of the day, because our customers, they get paid, I've said it a million times, they get paid to put ink on a substrate. Right? And it's beautiful imagery and it's communication. It could be something as simple as a sign, but it's powerful communication.
And if you look at the portfolio of what you deliver the value to enable that tactile experience, to the perfect colors, the business size to it, the variable data. I mean the whole gamut, basically.
Exactly, you know, and when I get a mail piece, I open it up and I want to understand how it was constructed and think about how many potential different versions of this existed and what the manufacturing must have looked like. That's another thing that drives me, and I think, wow, that's incredible. I wonder how they did that, and I want to reverse engineer it.
You know, the funny thing is that, again, before the camera was turned on, we spoke about you never thought about the trajectory that you were actually going at, right? Or the path you end up. And that is like, if you think about back when you were like young and started in maybe with interest in computers and whatever drove you. Yep. And now we're talking about good old Gutenberg things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, I tell people say, how did you get into the printing industry? I say, I turned left and accidentally fell into the printing industry and found something that I was passionate about.
Are you poisoned now?
No.
I mean, in a positive way. I was thinking that. So that is like, this is where we belong now, or?
I honestly, I'm now at that point in my career where I'm still excited about it, and you know, I think at my age now,
You're 50. Come on.
I think I'm incredibly privileged because I know so many people that are disenfranchised and disenchanted with the work that they have. I'm still passionate about it. I still get up every day and I'm excited about what I do. I'm excited about what we're delivering. I'm excited about the people I work with. It's a great time of life.
Nick, let's cheer. It was great.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.